Ah, the moon just hanging up there in the sky. I often forget it's even there, don't you? Imagine if one day it actually wasn't there. That could never really happen, could it? Could it? Or could it? Anyway, welcome to the Geek's Handbag. This is my review of Doctor Who Series 8, Episode 7, Kill the Moon. So, Kill the Moon by Peter Harness, his first script for Doctor Who, and apparently the concept for this story was originally written for Matt Smith's Doctor, which is rather interesting when you consider the direction the story went in towards the end. Anyway, last week the Doctor met Courtney at the school, and this week he managed to mortally offend her by telling her she was nothing special. So to make up for it, he takes her for a trip in the TARDIS to make her the first woman on the moon. Although, if you think about it, I think Martha Jones might have actually got that accolade. Anyway, once on the moon, they discover there's something wrong with it. It's putting on weight. Something I can relate to. And I love the fact that the Doctor uses his yo-yo to test out the gravity in the spaceship and on the moon, just like he did in the Ark in Space. I thought it was a nice throwback to that story. And also, the yo-yo is almost an exact replica of the Fourth Doctor's yo-yo, so that's a really nice attention to detail. So when the TARDIS lands on a spaceship that crashes into the moon, we meet these three astronauts, and incidentally one of them was played by Tony Asoba, who also appeared in Destiny of the Daleks and Dragonfire, so it was nice to see Tony popping up again. It's just a shame he wasn't in it a bit more before he was horrifically eaten by one of those giant spiders, but I'll come to those spiders in just a minute. The main astronaut was played by Harmony Norris, playing this really sort of tetchy, spiky character, not very likeable, but I thought she gave a really good performance. Interesting, the first thing she wants to do is shoot the Doctor when she meets him, but I did like the Doctor's throwaway line about, "Go ahead, I'll just keep regenerating, maybe forever." I thought that was interesting. Maybe the Doctor's got more lives than he previously had. Anyway, when they step out of the spaceship onto the moon's surface, I thought this was visually fantastic. In fact, this has been the most visually brilliant episode we've had in Series 8 so far, I would say. And the location shoot at Lanzarote, it was really used to full effect. It made for a great moon surface, I thought. So back to those spiders, and while the astronauts are walking around the moon base that's covered in cobwebs, discovering all these poor astronauts that have been eaten alive, we finally get to see this one big spider in the corridor, and that scene where they were backing out of the room away from it was really, really suspenseful and really well done. This is where poor Tony, who played Duke, met his demise, and then Courtney getting trapped and suspended in the air while this spider crept towards her, I thought was really full on and a great scene. I just didn't like the payoff much, the fact that she managed to kill the spider with this bug spray, because the spray acted really quickly and the spider just died, but I guess it moved the story on quickly. The spiders themselves, well, we didn't get to see that much of them, but what we did see was horrific and really good. But they were mostly sort of visualised through sound effects, and I thought that worked really well. It was really effective. So after this rather scary encounter with the spider, Courtney is packed off to the TARDIS and is pretty much redundant for the rest of the episode. I didn't like the line where she said she was bored. That reminded me of those ungrateful kids in Nightmare in Silver. I mean, you're on the moon, for goodness sake, enjoy it. Anyway, the Doctor and Ludwig and Clara continue to try and find out what's wrong with the moon, and the bit where that spider jumped out on the Doctor really did make me jump as well. So they discover that the moon is actually an egg, and that there's this thing living inside it, and that it's about to hatch, and that the spiders are actually bacteria, and that's quite a nice concept, I thought, and that worked really well. So the dilemma is, you know, what to do about this, because if the moon explodes, will the debris fall to Earth and wipe out the human race, or will this creature come down to Earth and kill everybody? So they have to decide what they're going to do, and Ludwig obviously wants to blow up the moon and destroy it, and Clara is just undecided, so she turns to the Doctor, as you would. At this point, the Doctor says he's having none of it. It's, you know, it's their moon, it's their decision, and he's going to leave them to it. And he says a line about taking the stabilisers off a bike to Clara. And it becomes really quite harsh between the Doctor and Clara at this point, or at least the Doctor's very harsh to Clara. She says, you know, you must know whether the moon survives or whether this creature survives. And the Doctor made some comment earlier on that, you know, he can't see the little moments where big decisions are made, and I thought that was a really nice little line. So yeah, he jumps in the TARDIS and leaves them to it, and Clara has to make that decision with Ludwig and Courtney. So in a roundabout way, this episode is tackling the subject of abortion, which is pretty full on for an episode of Doctor Who, but I think it's done in such a way that actually it works quite well. What doesn't work well for me in this episode is when Clara turns to the Earth to make that decision by asking them to turn off their lights. It's a nice idea in principle, but it simply isn't practical if you think about it. I mean, you know, we're all on different time scales, the lights go off in great big chunks. It just is ridiculous if you actually put your mind to it. But as I say, it's a nice enough idea. Anyway, at the very last second, she decides she can't destroy the moon and this creature inside it, and the explosion is aborted. And it is literally right on the last second, and the Doctor turns up in the TARDIS. And then he takes them back to Earth on this nice beach, and they see the creature flying off after being hatched from the moon, and the moon just disintegrates, so there's no damage or debris coming down to the Earth. The creature flies off into space, isn't bothered about the Earth, so all is well. But as it does so, it lays this egg, which is the exact same shape as the moon in exactly the same place. And again, I thought that was ridiculous. I mean, you know, again, it's a nice idea, but you know, practically it's just stupid. Anyway, all is well, and we're left wondering whether the Doctor knew this was going to happen all along, and if he did, why did he put them through all that mental torture? And Clara's face to him on the beach at the end is priceless. So, the end scene between the Doctor and Clara. Wow, what an amazing, well-written scene. Absolutely brilliantly acted by both of them. Basically, the Doctor drops Clara back at Colville School, where she confronts him about what they've just been put through, and asks him, you know, did he know that this was going to happen and everything would be all right in the end? And if he did, why did he put them through all that mental torture? And the Doctor's very coy and glib at this point, and a bit full of himself, and Clara's having none of it. And you know, and I love the line about she's going to smack him so hard that he'll regenerate if he doesn't give her a straight answer, which I thought was really good. Jenna Coleman really gives an amazing performance throughout this whole episode, especially in this end scene. In fact, I think this is the best performance she's given since she joined the show. She was phenomenal in this episode. Peter Capaldi, again, very much on top form. I did find that they turned the Doctor's nastiness up to 11 in this episode, obviously on purpose, but I didn't find it as enjoyable as I have in previous episodes. It was a bit too, you know, there was none of that nice warmth behind the eyes when he was being nasty in this episode. But I guess that was to lead it up to this end scene where Clara decides she's had enough, and she tells the Doctor to go away, go far away. She doesn't want to travel with him anymore. And so she goes back to her life with Danny Pink. And Danny says to her at this point, you know, you never really finish with anyone while you're still angry with them, which does suggest that she will go back to the Doctor, but we'll have to wait till next week to find out. Talking of next week, Mummy on the Orient Express looks really good. Of course, Frank Skinner's in it. I like Frank Skinner. I think he's good. I just hope he doesn't ham it up too much, but the trailer did look good for this. So overall, what did I think of Kill the Moon? Well, I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and I always rewatch these episodes before doing the review. The first time I watched it, there was a couple of bits that didn't quite sit right with me, but on second viewing, I really, really enjoyed this story. I thought it's definitely the most visually stunning episode we've had to date. All the performances in it were really good, especially from Jenna Coleman, as I say, and I thought the actual story and concept worked well, despite a few minor gripes. So, overall, I'm going to give Kill the Moon 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out thegeekshandbag.com for more news and videos from me. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, and do say hello on Twitter. Until the next time, guys, you take care. Bye-bye. Stranger looks different.